Right, okay, I'll hold my hands up. There is a little bit of clickbait in this video, but there is also some truth to it as well. I've got here a Lenovo IdeaPad Duet 3. It's a little tablet with a detachable keyboard. They are pretty decent machines. These are fairly spec'd out with a Intel Celeron N5030 processor, 8GB RAM, 128GB eMMC. So they're fairly spec'd out and they are pretty good machines. But there is a little bit of a problem with these. They are corporate machines or ex-corporate machines. My brother-in-law works for a company who does commercial building clearances, and one of the contracts that they've got at the minute is with a firm called Ladbrokes. They're shutting down a lot of their stores as their lease runs out, and they've been tasked to go in, clear it out, get rid of everything, ready for the next person or next company to lease the building. So one of the things that he's finding in every single building is one of these. So I'm assuming that they're using these for either, you know, booking bets or something like that. I'm not really sure what they're doing with it, but he's finding one of these in every single building, and I've been buying these off him for £50, which is a fairly good price because you can get between £140 to £180 for them online if they're in good condition. So it's not a bad price, but the only problem with that is they are locked. They have MDM on them, which is mobile device management. It's essentially iCloud for Windows or iCloud for tablets, but it basically stops you from reinstalling Windows or reinstalling an operating system in general without the system administrator's permission. So obviously that would normally be an issue because, you know, you can't just go reinstalling Windows on corporate machines, but these are pretty much decommissioned. They are, well, they're the property of the company who clears out the building because that's what they've been tasked to do. So once they clear it out, it becomes their property. Obviously, you know, they're entitled to take whatever they want out of that building, whether it's the tills, whether it's the POS systems, the phone systems, CCTV, all of that, that can take everything. All of the networking gear, the IT gear, the lot. That can take everything because that's what they've been tasked to do. They've just been tasked to literally clear it out. So these are legally acquired. So I'm going to say, before we even get into the video, this is education only. I'm not going to tell you how to do this for the sake of doing any illegal activities or anything like that. These are 100% legal and I am the legal owner of this device. But that being said, my brother-in-law had me wipe one of these and reinstall Windows on it, and I was kind of doing a little bypass where I was installing a light version of Windows to get around MDM, and then what I was doing after that was I was installing a full version of Windows over the top of it. So yeah, it was a little bit of a workaround, it was a little bit of a bypass, a little bit of a, you know, a bodge, if you will, but it worked, and I was doing it that way because we was keeping them for ourselves. I've got one of these for myself, it's just up there, so that one works absolutely fine. But my brother-in-law had me wipe one of these for him, and then he realised that he didn't want it, so he took it to a place called Cash Generator, which is a second-hand shop in the UK, kind of like GameStop. Basically, they buy your second-hand goods and they give you cash for them. So they gave him £60 for this when it was completely working. I'd reinstalled Windows, everything was working, it was all fine. And they phoned him up a couple of days later and said, we want our money back because we can't install Windows on it. Yes, I agree that I did bypass MDM, I didn't remove it. But at the same time, they bought that device on face value. And in my opinion, he shouldn't have given them the money back. I wouldn't have done. I would have said, no, it's your problem, deal with it. But he gave them the money back. He went in, he gave them the £60 back. It wasn't like he needed the money for it, he just didn't use the device. So he went in, he gave them the money back, and he brought it to me, and I said, right, I'll give you £50 for it. Same price as I always pay out. I've got four more of these, which, you know, they're working absolutely fine. They come with the box, they come with the official Lenovo chargers. They are USB Type-C, which is a good thing, but yeah, they are pretty good little machines, and, you know, I use them for watching movies in bed. I use them for, you know, just firing over some emails every now and again. I haven't used mine admittedly for a while, since I actually moved into this new house, but, you know, they're pretty good little machines. They come with a detachable keyboard, they come with a pen. Yeah, they are pretty good, but the problem is, like I said, they've got MDM on them. So I'm going to show you how to actually bypass that completely without having to, you know, just basically bodge it. So I'm going to remove MDM completely from the system, but I will say that this does require soldering. It's not a job that can be done with a screwdriver or with software. Well, it kind of is, both of them things, but you also need to be able to solder and micro solder at that, because we're going to need to remove a chip from the board, reprogram it, and then put it back onto the system or back onto the board, and then reinstall Windows. So with that being said, if you are new to the channel and you like this type of content, I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and turn on the bell notifications. That way you don't miss any future videos. If you do want to organise a repair on a laptop, tablet, games console, anything like that, get in touch, consolefix.co.uk. The link will be in the video description for that. And if you do want to buy parts and supplies for electronics, probably not these, but I might have some of these on the online store. But we have got an online store, like I say, and yeah, consolefix.shop, you can buy any parts and stuff, mainly for games consoles and things like that, but I do sell other parts as well, use laptops sometimes, use games consoles, that sort of stuff. Check it out, my wallet really wants you to. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Right, so like I said, this is a Lenovo IdeaPad Duet 3. It is a pretty spec-out version actually. It's got 8GB RAM, 128GB eMMC, touchscreen, you know, the whole works. It's pretty good. Yeah, just take my word for it. It's a pretty good laptop, but, well, pretty good tablet, should I say. And this one does work. It does turn on and it works absolutely fine. I did bypass MDM on this. I'm going to keep it this way just because I want you to be able to see it. But I did, well, temporarily at least, I bypassed MDM. So you can see it's actually turning on. It's working absolutely fine. Or rather it's booting up absolutely fine, but as you can see here, I'll zoom in on it so you can see it. I could connect it up to HDMI, but I can't be bothered. But yeah, as you can see, previous step failed, and it says preparing your device for mobile device management or mobile management. So basically what that's doing is, as soon as you connect to the internet, this is talking to a server. So it wants to talk to a server, wherever set it up, so there's going to be a central server somewhere. It's asking for authorization to reinstall Windows, and obviously, because that server's now been taken down, because the store is no longer there, it can't talk to the server. Or at least, it's talking to the server and it's rejecting permissions, I don't know. But yeah, basically this has been acquired completely legally, so anything I'm doing here is not illegal, which is why I'm happy to say where they're from. They are from a Ladbrokes store. I don't know where, I don't know what store, but they're from a Ladbrokes store somewhere. So what we're going to do is I'm going to shut this down completely, and I'm going to take this apart. So like I said, this does need some micro soldering, because we're going to need to take a chip off the board and we're going to need to program it using a programmer. I've got a CH341 programmer. Huge shout out to Acids Mods for sending me one. I'll leave a link to his website in the video description. Thank you, Jamie, aka Acids. But yeah, we've got to remove this. It's going to be a T6 screwdriver to remove these. And here's one I prepared earlier. How good am I? So I'm going to do this. Well, there's two ways you can do it. You can take the motherboard out, but I really can't be bothered to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the chip off the board while it's still in the housing. This belongs to me. If I damage it, then that's on me. If you damage it doing it, if you're using this as a tutorial or something like that, then that's your problem. But yeah, basically I'm not going to take the board out or anything like that because I just can't be bothered. It is 1:04 AM right now, and I just thought I'd do this video just purely because it's useful information and stuff like that. But it took me a while to actually get this because I actually paid for a clean BIOS from Venafix.com, and this so-called clean BIOS didn't work. So Venafix can suck it. I managed to get one from Bad Caps Forums. I'll leave a link to the post where I managed to get the clean BIOS from. I'm not going to provide the BIOS, I'm not going to get into any of that, but I will leave a link to the post where I got the clean BIOS from. Right, I've got to try and get this screen off without damaging it. So these are on there pretty tight. They're not easy to remove, but with a little bit of prying, pokery jiggery, should be able to get it off. There we go. So it's just clips around once you've taken the screws out of it. We've got to be careful though, because there are a couple of ribbons in here. Just there, you see. So there's one just there. And I suppose I better remove the battery from this. There we go. Now I can safely remove it. I don't recommend taking screen ribbons off without removing the battery first. That is one thing I do not recommend. So I'm going to remove that Kapton tape, just leave it there for safekeeping. And there we go. So the screen's removed, nice and easy. So yeah, really easy to change the screens in these, which is good. I do like the way these was designed. And what we need to do now is remove this heatsink, because the BIOS chip is just under here, in this top corner here. So that's going to be a few Phillips screws. So once we remove this, we are going to need to put fresh thermal paste on as well, because we're actually disturbing the thermal paste that's on there. Let's pop this off. There's actually a little bit of sticky tape there for the webcam that needs to come off. There we go. And like I said, these are pretty decent machines. They're not bad. You know, they run fairly quick for what they are. And there we go. So there's the heatsink. And the BIOS chip that we need to reprogram is just there. So this chip needs to come off the board. Let's pop under the microscope and I'll show you that a little bit closer. So there's the BIOS chip. It's a XMC QU64AHIC, I think. That looks about right. Yeah, it's that chip there. It's easy just to point to it. So like I said, this chip basically needs to come off the board. So I'm going to go for 440 degrees Celsius at 40% airflow on my Atten hot air station. I'm going to add a little bit of flux here. And like I said, I'm doing this inside the case. But the only reason I'm doing it inside the case is because it's my own device, and it doesn't, you know, it's not the end of the world if I do damage it, even though I have done these inside the case, you know, over the past 24 hours, and I know that it can take it. But I'm not going to take responsibility if you do the same thing and damage your case. There we go. So that BIOS chip's been removed. So I've got that in my tweezers here, and as you can see, nothing wrong with the case at all. Like I said, I trust myself. Whether you want to, that's completely up to you. There we go, okay. So here's my CH341 programmer. I've got a 200mm adapter on there. There we go. Okay, so yeah, your reader may vary. Basically, I've got this on the SPI BIOS settings, and pin number 1 for me is down in the bottom left corner. So yeah, basically that's hooked up now. That's connected up to the PC, so I can connect up the software and read this BIOS. Detect IC not responding. There we go. Right, I'll just have to wiggle it around a little bit. Okay, there we go. Select, and I'm going to read this chip. So this is going to take a little bit of time because there's quite a bit on this chip, but you know, 60 seconds or so should be done. And there we go. So 1 minute 10 seconds, and that chip is read. So I've loaded that chip into memory on the PC. So what I'm going to do, first of all, and the most important thing, I cannot stress this enough, save a copy of your BIOS. Because if you mess it up, you're going to need to reprogram it. So we're going to save that. I'm going to go to the folder, and I'm going to just, as you can see, I've been doing this already, but I'm going to mark the serial number. So I'm going to log the serial number down and just make sure I know exactly what device it belongs to. because, like I said, if I mess this up, then I'm going to need to flash the chip back on. So there we go. So I've just typed in the serial number so I know exactly what device this belongs to. I've got another one there for the other device I've already done. I'm going to click save, and that is done. So if I go here now, you can see that we've got this bin file for this particular device. So what we need to do now is we need to download a clean BIOS, and huge thank you to Hardware One. He's provided a clean BIOS. He says, here's your new BIOS file. It's a Virgin BIOS from Lenovo. So that's been posted a while ago. But yeah, let's just download that. As you can see, he also logged his serial number, but I think it's been wiped off the BIOS. So yeah, what we need to do is we need a clean BIOS here. So if we extract that here, and I'm going to rename that to, IdeaPad Duet 3-10 IGL5 clean. So this is a fresh Virgin BIOS. I've confirmed that this works absolutely fine already. So I'm going to go to Neo Programmer. I'm going to open that file, and I'm going to go for erase and write. I'm going to click on write, and remember, I've got a backup of my BIOS now. It is recommended that you take you know, 1 or 2 different backups, but I've just taken the one backup for now, you know, just for the sake of this. I know I can get it working, you know, worst case scenario, I've got another BIOS I can just read from. So yeah, I know that this is going to work, but this is programming now. As you can see, it's an 8 MB file, so it does take a little while because these are really slow. But it's going to take a little while, but it is going to program this BIOS. And as you can see here, it's IdeaPad Duet 3, 10 IGL5 clean. So that's the one that we're writing now. So we're writing that BIOS, and then we should be able to bypass MDM. So one other thing while that's doing, if you look here, we've got ESD USB. So what I've done is I've used the Windows installation creator, so the installation media creation thing that you download from Windows, and I've basically created a Windows 10 USB. This is a clean, fresh, up-to-date copy of Windows 10, and I only created that today. So yeah, there you go. So as you can see, 3rd of the 5th, which is 3rd of May in UK date format type stamp thingies. Yeah, anyway, that's done. 56 seconds and we're done. So I can unplug this now. I'm going to take that BIOS back. There we go, and we're done with the programmer for now, as long as everything's gone as it should have done. So let's get this chip reinstalled. So we don't really need to replace the solder or anything for this, it's absolutely fine. You know, we don't need to retin these solder pads or anything. Not a problem. We're just going to reinstall this chip back in the correct orientation. Solder that partially. Let's add a bit more flux here. Just a tad, because we don't really want to be making a mess of the board. I will clean it up, but we don't want to make too much of a mess of the board because we are still inside the housing, which means we've got limited space for cleaning. And there we go. So that's reinstalled. So now I'm just going to take a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on a cotton swab. I'm just going to clean around the chip just to get rid of that little bit of flux. Not absolutely necessary if you're using no clean flux. It's not going to hurt the board, but I'm going to clean it anyway, just for good measures. And there we go. So that's the job done. We can start putting these back together now. So what we need to do first is just clean off the thermal paste on the CPU. And this thermal paste is actually still wet. I'm just going to clean this up. There we go. Beautiful. Let's get rid of that old thermal paste, or most of it at least, off the CPU die. And then we're going to add some fresh thermal paste there. So I'm using MX4. So this stuff just here. It's pretty good stuff. I highly recommend using this stuff. But that's that done. Okay, so we just need to clean off the heatsink. Get rid of the thermal paste off there. And there we go. So now we can pop that back on. We don't need to add fresh thermal paste on there. That was just off the transfer from the CPU. So that's absolutely fine. So let's just screw this back together. So if you're doing it on this exact laptop, it's the small PH00 screws, the Phillips screws that go in the heatsink, not the Torx screws. There we go. Okay, let's grab the screen. I will say as well, be very careful when you're handling these ribbons because they are very sensitive, or rather very fragile. They're not difficult to tear, these flex ribbons on the LCD, and then you've got yourself a dead LCD basically. So just be careful when you're handling the ribbons. There we go. Okay, so we can pop that back in now. Clip it all back in properly. Zoom out a little bit just so you can see. No, we can't. We didn't connect up the battery. There we go. So, like I said, this has now got a Virgin BIOS with pretty much no serial number on it. Or at least as far as I know, it's got no serial number on it. Or no serial number assigned in the BIOS. I don't know how to actually assign the serial number properly. So, I'm just going to ignore that. Okay, there we go. So now we can screw this back down. We really should be testing this before we screw it back down, but hey ho, it is what it is. So these are the T6 Torx screws. And there we go. So that's fully back together now. And okay, that's just booted up for some reason. A bit weird, but hey ho. Right, okay, so I am going to shut this down. Whoops. Actually, what did that come up with? Did it come up with the MDM thing again, or did it actually go past it? I don't know. I'm wondering if I actually need to reinstall it completely. Because I don't know, to be honest. Because the last one I did this on, I didn't even check, I just reinstalled it. Let's see what it comes up with. I'm going to leave it in this orientation because it will flip around. It's a bit of a pain in the backside. We have to install the drivers and stuff once it's reinstalled, but I'm not going to go through that for the sake of the video. I'll just go through actually getting past MDM. Yeah, it comes up error. Okay. Right, so we're going to shut that down fully. Press and hold the power button for 5 seconds. Wait for the black screen, just like that. I'm going to take a USB. So this USB's got Windows 10 on it, a fresh copy directly from Microsoft. And let's get the keyboard actually first. There we go. So press that, turn it on. And what I'm going to do, because these are a bit of a pain in the backside in terms of getting the USB to boot, so I'm just going to, as it's booting up, I'm just going to force it to shut down by pressing and holding the power button. I'll do that a couple of times and it should boot into recovery and give me the option to use a USB. Right, so if we fire this up now, it should attempt to repair itself and then give me the option to boot into a USB drive. Okay, so automatic repair. Let's go to advanced options. Use a device, EFI USB device, and that should boot into the reinstall reinstallation program. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to run through the setup quickly. So lighting's going to be a little bit off here, but not really a lot I can do about that. So United Kingdom, click on next and install. Like I said, the reflections are going to be a little bit off and stuff, but hey ho. I could connect it up to HDMI, but that's just too awkward to have cables dangling around. So I don't have a product key, we're going to select that. We're going to go for Windows 10 Pro. And then we're going to accept, install Windows only, and I'm going to delete all of these partitions off here because we don't need them. So that's completely wiped. Click on next. And that's going to run through the setup now. So I'm going to leave that to run. I'm going to skip through this bit. I'll fast forward through and everything so you don't have to sit here and watch me reinstall Windows. Okay, we're just getting through the setup now. So it's taking about 5 minutes or so. It really doesn't take long to install Windows these days. I can unplug this USB now, so that's not needed. So, whoops, no, didn't want to do that. Skip. So just run through this setup here. I'm going to connect to the internet just so you know it's all above board and everything. And there you go, connected, blah blah blah. So I'll let this go through. It's going to take a little while for this bit, but I'll let it go through and I'll pick up the video when it's done. And there we go. So normally this would just come up with MDM at this point. It would ask me to get permission or get authorization or whatever it does. But now, as you can see, we can select set up for personal use. And then we can create an offline account. I'm not going to sign into my Microsoft account. It's completely pointless. But let's just set this up. I don't really want to add any more devices to my Microsoft account. I've got way too many on there. I'm going to skip adding a password. So I'm just skipping through all of that, just selecting limited experiences and stuff. But yeah, that's installed. No, let's not turn on Cortana. And now that's going to go through the account setup process and it should be on the desktop. Okay, and that's just gone into sort of sleep mode or standby mode. Let's just try and wake the thing up. So I'm not sure why it does this, but it does. But yeah, there you go. That is all done. We're on the desktop, it's working, and everything appears to be fine. Properties, and there you go. So as you can see, it's all working. Everything is absolutely fine. And oh look, graphics just got installed. Go away. Yeah, so that's all working. Let's just go on to the properties. And as you can see there, Windows is activated. So that's all working absolutely fine. I'm not sure if it'll rotate yet or not. Oh damn it. Always press those bleeding buttons. See if it rotates. I was having issues getting it to rotate earlier, but that was just down to drivers. Or not this one, the last one I worked on. No. I need to install the drivers on it, but yeah, it does work. So just to show you that they do work once I've installed the drivers and stuff like that. You know, the BIOS file isn't going to cause any kind of issues. This is one that I did earlier on today. So I installed a replacement BIOS on this. I've updated all the drivers on this one and everything like that. So actually, no, it's not that one. That's my own. No, it's not that one either. That one's dead. I swear I'll find one in a minute that actually works. I think it's this one. I think that's the right one. So I've got a few of these for sale. I'm going to be selling them on the store in a couple of days. I've just got to get them cleaned up and get some photos of them and stuff like that. But I think this is the right one. Is this the one? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so as you can see, that's another fresh install of Windows. Again, orientation's working on this one because the drivers have been installed, but as you'll see, even on this one, exactly the same spec, Windows is activated because it's got the serial number automatically. It's automatically realised that it's got a valid license. So yeah, there we go. That one's done. These two I've still got to bypass properly, but yep, those are for another day. So there we go. Nice and, well, I'll say nice and simple. Obviously, like I said, you do need to know how to micro solder to be able to do this. You also need some specialist software and stuff to be able to do it, and a specialist programmer. But that's now working. It's installed. It's got a fresh copy of the latest version of Windows on here. Like I said, I downloaded that from the Microsoft Store this afternoon. I put it onto the USB, so I know it's a fresh, up-to-date copy. And there's no longer any MDM on this tablet, or this one, and the other two in a couple of days. So like I said, I do have a few of these. I think I've got 4 here, but I'm pretty sure in a box somewhere I've got another 2 or 3. I don't actually know how many I've bought off him over the past couple of months, because he just keeps coming to me with them, and I just can't help myself. I always buy them. I like a bargain, but hey ho. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. Have you got a simpler solution for this? Let me know if you have. You know, I'm more than happy to hear you out and, you know, try some different solutions. But that being said, this one's done, and it can now be used in a personal setting or a corporate setting without needing to worry about MDM reactivating. So that's going to be it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, if you do have any comments or questions, let me know down in the comment section down below. If you do want to organise a repair, get in touch using the website in the video description, consolefix.co.uk. You can get in touch, you can ask a question about a repair, or you can book it in and send over your device for repair as well. If you do want to buy any parts and tools, consolefix.shop, that's my online store, and that does directly support me as well. And also, if you do want to support me, you can head over to Twitch, and you can link an Amazon Prime account to Twitch and become a Twitch Prime subscriber. It doesn't cost you anything if you've got Amazon Prime, but it does massively help me out. There's also some affiliate links in the video description as well. So if you use any of those links, I'll get a little bit of a kickback from Amazon and AliExpress, things like that. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and if I don't see you later, I'll see you through the windows. Bye for now. That was a terrible joke.